The Galactic Council chamber buzzed with confusion. 17 species sat around the circular platform, their translators humming in perfect synchronization, yet not a single word made sense. The Kthari Diplomat stood at the center, its crystalline form refracting the chamber's lights into rainbow patterns. It had been speaking for 20 minutes, and every species heard gibberish. The Vraxians heard mathematical equations that contradicted themselves. The Pelthari heard musical notes that formed no melody. The Zenith heard colors. "This is unprecedented," growled Ambassador Thexisel, his fur eyes narrowing in frustration. "Our translators have never failed before." Nancy Parker leaned back in the human delegation's seat, observing the chaos with quiet fascination. She was young for a galactic diplomat, barely 30 Earth years, but her sharp mind had earned her the position. Beside her, her colleague Parker Chen frantically adjusted their translation equipment. "It's not the translators," Nancy whispered to him. "Look at the Kthari's body language." Parker glanced up from his datapad. "What body language?" "It's a living crystal." "Exactly. And crystals vibrate." Nancy's eyes lit up with understanding. "Parker, pull up the acoustic analysis of the Kthari's speech pattern." As Parker worked, the council descended further into disorder. The Kthari Diplomat had begun to pulse with different colors, what Nancy suspected was their species' equivalent of distress. "I've got it," Parker said, showing her the waveform analysis. "But I don't understand what I'm looking at." Nancy studied the patterns, her heart racing. "It's not one language, it's 3 simultaneously. The Kthari are communicating on multiple frequency layers at once." She stood abruptly, drawing attention from nearby delegations. "Council," Nancy's voice cut through the noise. "I request permission to address the Kthari directly." The chamber fell silent. Ambassador Thexisel's mandibles clicked skeptically. "The human thinks she can succeed where all our technology has failed?" "Not succeed differently," Nancy replied calmly. "Succeed properly. The Kthari aren't speaking one language, they're speaking several at once, layered across different frequencies. Our translators are trying to parse it as a single stream, which is why we're getting nonsense." The Kthari Diplomat's crystalline form shifted, refracting light in a pattern Nancy was beginning to recognize as hope. Parker was already reconfiguring their equipment. "If you're right, I can separate the frequency layers and translate each independently." "You won't need to translate all of them," Nancy said, approaching the Kthari slowly. She pulled out a simple human tablet and began typing. The Kthari are using a communication method that combines logic, emotion, and context simultaneously. They can't separate these elements, it's fundamental to how they think. She held up the tablet, showing a 3-dimensional diagram. "On Earth, we have something similar in our own evolution. When humans communicate, we don't just use words. We use tone, body language, and context. We've just never had to process all 3 as equal languages before." The council watched in stunned silence as Nancy began speaking to the Kthari, her words carefully structured. But she wasn't just speaking, she was humming a low-frequency tone, while her tablet displayed color patterns synchronized to her speech. The Kthari's form brightened immediately. For the first time since entering the chamber, it produced sounds that the translators could process. "You understand?" The Kthari's voice emerged clear and melodic through the translation system. "I'm trying to," Nancy replied honestly, maintaining her trimodal communication. "Your people communicate with logical content, emotional resonance, and contextual color simultaneously, correct?" "Yes." The relief in the Kthari's voice was palpable. "My species has tried to join the council for 3 cycles, but no one could understand our fundamental nature. We feared we would be forever isolated." Parker worked frantically at his station. Now that he understood the problem, "I'm recalibrating the translators for multi-layered input. Give me 2 minutes." Nancy kept the Kthari engaged, asking questions about their homeworld while maintaining the complex communication pattern. It was exhausting, like speaking to languages while writing a third, but she could see the intelligence and kindness in the aliens' responses. "Your world must have evolved unique atmospheric properties for crystalline life," Nancy observed, her tablet displaying sympathetic colors. "Indeed," the Kthari replied, its form pulsing with what Nancy interpreted as pleasure at being understood. "Our atmosphere resonates at frequencies that shaped our evolution. We perceive reality not in singular moments, but in harmonic layers. Got it? Parker announced triumphantly. The new translation matrix is ready for council-wide distribution. As Parker's upgraded software propagated through the council's systems, delegates gasped in wonder. Suddenly, the Kthari's words made perfect sense, rich with meaning that went far beyond simple vocabulary. Honored Council, the Kthari began anew. I am Crystalline Harmonic 7th of the Northern Range. I come bearing my civilization's request for membership and alliance. Ambassador Thexisel rose, his earlier skepticism replaced with respect. The Council recognizes Harmonic 7th, and we owe thanks to the human delegation for this breakthrough. As the Kthari presented their formal petition, now fully comprehensible, Nancy returned to her seat. Parker grinned at her. You know what you just did? He whispered. You didn't just solve a translation problem. You proved that humans have a unique ability in the galaxy. What's that? We're naturally good at processing multiple forms of communication simultaneously, because we evolved as social creatures who needed language, emotion, and context to survive. Every other species here evolved specialized communication. We evolved flexible communication. Nancy watched as the council voted unanimously to welcome the Kthari civilization. The crystalline diplomat was pulsing with colors she now recognized as joy. Maybe that's humanity's role out here, Nancy mused. Not to be the strongest or the smartest, but to be the bridge. The species that can understand what others can't, simply because we learn to speak with more than just our words. Parker raised his coffee bulb in a mock toast. Humanity, fuck yeah, Nancy smiled. Humanity, fuck yeah indeed. The council session continued into the evening, with the Kthari sharing knowledge about crystalline technology and harmonic sciences. And in the human delegation seats, 2 young diplomats had just reminded the galaxy why Earth deserved its place among the stars, not through force or superiority, but through the simple human talent for connection, understanding, and empathy. After all, humans had spent millennia learning to bridge differences among themselves. The galaxy was just a bigger classroom,